You ever get the feeling that the American dream isn't quite what it seems? What if it's less of a dream and more like a script? A set of unwritten psychological rules that are secretly guiding how millions of us think and act? Well, today we're going to pull back that curtain.
I mean, we all know the story, right? America, the land of opportunity, the home of the brave. It's this really powerful narrative, an idea that's been exported and idealized all over the globe.
But what if that shiny surface is just that, a surface? And what if, just underneath, our everyday interactions are all part of some giant, high-stakes psychological game? A game driven by status and, well, invisible manipulation.
Okay, so let's peel back the first layer here. We're talking about the perfect facade. It's that polished mask, the one so many of us put on every single day, often without even realizing we're doing it.
Think about that super bright, have a nice day energy you get everywhere. On the surface, it feels great, right? Super positive. It's kind of the bedrock of American interaction.
But there's a darker way to look at it. What if it's not just about being friendly? The idea here is that it's actually the public face of a really complex psychological system. A system designed, believe it or not, for control.
And that brings us to one of the most powerful tools in this whole system, something called the optimism weapon. You can really see this when you compare cultures. Like in a lot of European countries, if you're having a bad day and someone asks, you can just say it. It's normal. But in the US, oof, it can feel like you're committing a social sin or something.
And this is where we get to that core concept, weaponized optimism. It's basically this unspoken societal pressure to always project this image that you're totally okay, that you're a winner, no matter what's actually going on inside.
Now this has a huge, huge effect, because think about it. When it seems like everyone around you is just crushing it, totally happy and successful all the time, it can make you, if you're the one who's actually struggling, feel completely alone, like you're the only one who's somehow broken for not keeping up.
And this kicks off a really nasty cycle. First, you feel broken because you can't keep up the happy act. So then you start looking for quick fix solutions, right? Pills, apps, superficial advice. But those things don't really fix the deep down problem. They just help you put the mask back on, and the whole system just keeps on running. Okay, so this pressure to perform, to wear the mask, it gets turned up to 11 by another key part of this whole script, what's called the individualist trap. Basically, the incredibly high cost of a me-first culture.
And look, this isn't just a vague feeling. It's something people have actually measured. Cultural researchers like Geert Hofstede have looked at societies all over the world, and the U.S. consistently comes out on top, #1, as the most individualistic culture on the planet. Period.
This extreme individualism, it's argued, has given rise to something you might have heard of, main character syndrome. It's this mindset where you're the star of your own movie, and, well, everyone else is just a background actor.
So what's the result of that? What happens when everyone thinks they're the star? You get a pretty serious empathy deficit, where other people's problems just become minor subplots in your big story. And all that politeness we talked about, it stops being about a real human connection and becomes more like performative kindness. It's a transaction. You're nice to get a good review, a better tip, some kind of social advantage. And the second that transaction is over, the performance ends. So let's recap. We've got pressured individuals and kindness that's often just an act. Now, what happens when you blow that up to a national scale? Well, that's when you get our third piece of the puzzle, the outrage machine.
The argument here is pretty wild. It's that a major goal of many media systems isn't just to inform you, but to keep you in a state of constant, simmering outrage. But why? What purpose could that possibly serve? Well, it comes down to some pretty basic psychology. When your brain is in that fight or flight mode, when you're angry or scared, your ability to think critically and with nuance, it just goes right out the window. And that creates the perfect diversion, doesn't it? Because when you're busy being absolutely furious at your neighbor, the one with the other political sign in their yard,
You're not looking up. You're not paying attention to the larger systems that might actually be profiting from all that anger and division.
So, okay, we've seen how the game is played. The big question now is, how do you just stop playing? At its heart, the conflict is really this: the image versus the human. It's a culture that so often values the shiny, projected image more than the real, messy person underneath. And just seeing that, just recognizing that there is a choice, is the first huge step. And that really brings it all back to you, doesn't it? This whole pressure to perform, these subtle status games, this non-stop outrage cycle. Does any of this sound familiar? Have you seen these scripts playing out in your own life?
Ultimately, the real takeaway here is this. Once you can see the script, you actually have a choice. You can decide not to follow it. You can choose authenticity over performance. You can choose to just be human.